Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this webinar. This is all about Clio and how it can benefit your law firm. So if you have any questions throughout this presentation, you can just use the chat at the bottom of the screen, and you'll be able to reach myself. So I'm Carrie Roseman with The Digital, I'm VP of Operations, and we have Adam Dennis. He is our Partner Account Manager with Clio. Thank you so much for joining us, Adam.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to jumping into it.
Yeah, me too. So first, a little bit about The Digital. So we are a full service digital marketing and web design development agency. We're headquartered in Raleigh, North Carolina. We've been in business going on 19 years this year. We were founded in 2004. We have the highest Google rating of agencies in our area, which we're pretty proud of. And we have some professional partnerships such as Clio, HubSpot, and we're also a premier Google partner. The Digital has kind of two sides of the business. We have production and then marketing. On the production side, we offer custom web design, custom web development. We build e-commerce websites, lead generation websites. We also provide hosting and ongoing support and maintenance for your website. And we offer ADA compliance as well. On the marketing side of the house, we offer search engine optimization, paid ads such as Google and Bing, social media marketing, email marketing, marketing automation, inbound marketing, reputation management, and then also marketing consulting. And then why are we here today with Clio? So we've partnered with Clio because we do more than just agency work. When we work with our clients, we try to be their business partner in all things that can help grow their business. So, we really find business solutions, and sometimes that's not just web design and just digital marketing. And because of the nature of what we do for clients, such as building a website or doing digital marketing, we bring in a lot of leads for law firms, and you need to know, or you might need some help managing all of those leads so that you can actually convert all of these leads into paying clients. So that's where Clio comes in. Clio gives you an efficient process for handling all of these leads and then managing the entire client lifecycle. And Adam is going to go into all of those benefits shortly. And one more reason why we really like Clio is it already integrates with many of the tools that we like and recommend to our clients. So they have 200 integrations, maybe even more. And some of our favorites like WordPress, CallRail for call tracking, Podium, Google Workspace, and also QuickBooks. So we feel confident in recommending this tool. And we know that that it can really help you grow your legal practice. So at this point, I will let Adam take over and do a deep dive and a demo and show you all the benefits of using Clio.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Carrie. Appreciate the introduction. And thank you, everybody, for taking the time to learn a little bit more about Clio. Really appreciate it. Before I dive into the demo itself, just want to provide a quick high-level overview in terms of Clio as an organization. So in terms of the 5 points at the bottom, I just want to highlight some things that really stand out to me. We're the leading cloud-based practice management software company. We work with about 40,000 firms across the globe, which equates to about 150,000 legal professionals, the vast majority of which are based in the US. Despite us being a Canadian company, at least we were founded in Vancouver, Canada. Our primary customer base is certainly in the US, and that's spread across Canada, EMEA, and we're starting to move into Asia as well. In terms of our employee count, it's just about north of 900 employees. We really try and keep everything in-house, whether it's product development, marketing, sales, R&D. We think that's an important part of the process and has really allowed us to sort of grow at the rate that we have and maintain our position as a leader in the market. Another fact that I'm quite proud of and I think is very important to the company is our relationships with the bars. We have 90 plus bar association relationships. And I think that's important to highlight because it's a true testament to our security as an organization. The bars are incredibly thorough and they put their stamp of approval on Clio because security is something that we really invest in. And it's important to us as we know it's important to you. Another important stat that I always like to highlight is our renewal rate, which is about 98%. So not only does Clio do a fantastic job of onboarding new firms, but 98% of the time when firms onboard with Clio, they stick with us for the long haul. And the last stat that I want to highlight is that we recently passed the 100 million ARR threshold, which is annual recurring revenue. That's a significant metric within B2B SaaS companies, which Clio is. And again, it just sort of highlights our position as a leader in the market. We're here to be a 100-year-old company, and we intend to sort of maintain our position in the market as a leader. And the image that you actually see there is our most recent conference, the Clio Cloud Conference. It was held in October in Nashville. We had about 3,000 in-person attendees, which consisted of legal professionals, technology enthusiasts, Clio customers and prospects. It's going to be in October next year as well, also in Nashville. It was a lot of fun. So if anyone's curious on that, feel free to put in the chat. We would be happy to sort of follow up with more information on the conference itself. So in terms of the product, there's sort of 3 core modules to Clio: Clio Grow, Clio Manage, and then Clio Payments. I like to think of Clio as an end-to-end solution that can support clients all the way from client intake all the way to invoice. As you see on the left-hand side, Clio Grow really focuses on the marketing, intake, and lead conversion aspect of the funnel, whereas Clio Manage is where the case management itself begins. Once the client's been retained and you're doing everything from billing, calendaring, document management, processing payments via Clio Payments, so on and so forth. The overall goal in using something like Clio is to consolidate all the different technologies across the firm. So rather than having an intake solution, a billing solution, something for documents, the idea is to have everything consolidated into one cloud-based tool, so you can manage your practice on the go. So before I jump into the live demo itself, I just want to give everybody the lay of the land in terms of Clio here. So what you're looking at right now is Clio Grow. As I said before, Clio Grow is our intake tool. And on the left-hand side, we have our firm-wide tabs, right? So we have our matter pipeline, firm agenda, contacts, matters, forms, documents, and reports. And we're looking at right now is the matter pipeline, which is broken down into intake, hired, and did not hire. And the general idea with this is to map out the different stages that a firm would use to intake a new client. And I'm going to walk through this in a bit more detail as we dive deeper into Grow, but just want to give everybody their bearings before jumping into the full-fledged demo. Once the client or the lead has actually been retained as a client, as I said before, the casework in that firm would be managing it in Manage itself. In the same way as Grow, we have our firm-wide tabs all along the left. So everything from the calendar, tasks, matters, contacts, activities, billing, payments, documents, so on and so forth. Up at the top, we have a global search bar. You can search a word or a phrase and it'll search the entire platform. A recents tab for any recently viewed matters. Built-in timer for any hourly work. And then this helpful create new drop-down menu, which I like to refer to as our Swiss Army knife of Clio, in that you can perform any task or function within the realm of the program from this menu. Okay, great. Now that everybody has the lay of the land, I'm going to focus on 4 core values to demonstrate Clio rather than doing sort of traditional left to right demo. I think it's best to sort of drill down on 4 benefits that an end user would experience in using Clio, which is a really strong user experience, enhanced workflow automation, increased billable hours, and improvements to the firm's cash flow, and then a really strong customer experience, which in turn generates more referrals for the firm. I'm going to go value by value, speak to it at a high level, and then jump into Clio and demonstrate a couple of examples. So in terms of user experience, we often joke internally at Clio that as much as we're a practice management software company, we're just as, if not more, a change management software company, right? With that understanding, everything in Clio was designed with the user experience top of mind. We recognize that our attorneys are incredibly busy, and the thought of learning a new system can be daunting at times. So our product team put a lot of emphasis into the overall user experience so that attorneys would have an easier time adopting the system and not have a huge learning curve, but rather allowing you to focus on your billable work and servicing your client, which is obviously the priority. So I'm going to jump into Clio here and show a couple different examples of how our team's really invested into the user experience. And it really starts on the Matter dashboard. So you'll have one of these Matter views for every single one of your cases in Clio, right? Right now we're looking at the last minute divorce with children. And in the same way that we have our firm-wide tabs on the left, we have our Matter-specific tabs all along the top. So activities, calendar events, communications, documents, bills, all of which that apply to this specific matter that we're looking at. On the right, we have a timeline that shows any changes that have ever been made to the file, the contacts associated with the matter, related contacts, details on the case, and then in the middle, all the financials. So our work in progress, outstanding balances, and then you can also manage what's in trust. The benefit to this, at least from a user experience standpoint, is that everything's consolidated, right? So prior to working with our partners, my role was on the sales side of things. And something I used to hear from attorneys all the time is that they would just waste so much time looking for information, right? When they were working on a case, they'd go looking in their case documents, they'd go to a separate billing folder, have to go through their Gmail or Outlook and search for client emails. The value with this is that when you're working on the last minute divorce, for example, everything's right here. There's little reason for why you'd have to leave this view page, whether it's activities, documents, so on and so forth. And that's a huge benefit. Everything's under one sun. In addition to that, everything in Clio is cloud-based. We also have a mobile app. I've worked with firms who pretty much do everything within Clio from their phone, whether it's an iPhone or an Android. You can manage your calendar, you can review bills, share documents on the go. So that's another huge advantage from a user experience standpoint, that you're not sort of limited by your server or your on-premise solution. Carrie alluded to this earlier, but another huge advantage to using Clio from a user experience standpoint is our app directory. So we have over 200 plus different integration partners. Some of the notable ones are Gmail, QuickBooks, Outlook, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, NetDocuments. And the benefit with this is that when you adopt something like Clio, you can integrate it with whatever technology you're currently using, as opposed to having to rewrite the ship. As I said before, we recognize that attorneys and firms are incredibly busy, and the thought of learning something new and sort of adopting an entirely new tech stack can be daunting and counterintuitive to what we're trying to accomplish, which is saving you more time. So by allowing Clio to integrate with what you're already currently using, minimizes that learning curve and enhances your user experience. And the last piece I'm going to highlight as it relates to user experience is our fantastic support team. So in the event that you experience a roadblock and you have questions for our team, they can be reached 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, by phone, by email, or by chat right here within your Clio account. In addition to that, our support team is made up of 100 people. They've won several awards for their work. And I think it's important to note that when you reach out to our support team, you're not going to get sort of like an automated canned response with a support article. You're going to be able to connect with a real live person, oftentimes a friendly Canadian, who will be happy to sort of walk you through whatever challenges you're experiencing. And those are the examples I'm going to highlight for user experience. That leads me into the next benefit, which is enhanced workflow automation. So I think it's important to note that regardless of what section of Clio the end user is in, the goal is really to automate as much of the administrative work as possible and create efficiencies where we can. So I'm going to jump into Clio and show a couple of different examples of that workflow automation. I think the best example of that is within Clio Grow. As I said before, Clio Grow is meant to streamline a firm's intake process, ensure that no business is falling through the cracks, and that you're really optimizing that experience from that first point of contact from the lead until they're actually retained. So in terms of automating workflows, what's really nice about Clio Grow is that you can have a fully automated intake process. You can actually send out the intake form to your client or to the lead, or put it on your website. And when they fill out the information, they'll populate as a lead in the lead inbox, at which point someone from the firm can either accept or decline that lead. And if they accept that lead, they'll move into the newly added section here. Of course, if someone from the firm wants to manually intake a new lead, you can hit quick intake and record all their information, right? Like personal details, the lead source, so where that lead's coming from, if you want to track that, as well as any tags to sort of filter your leads. And then you can give a description for the matter, who it's assigned to, all that basic information. But in terms of automating workflows, you can defer all that manual work to the lead by allowing them to fill out the information and have it populate into Clio. Another example of workflow automation is with the search bar. As I said before, you can type in a word or a phrase, and it will search throughout the entire system to pull that information. So it's going to search your matters, contacts, calendar events, notes, tasks, activities. It even has the ability to search within the content of your documents. So if you upload your documents to Clio, not only will it search for the name of the document, but within the body of that document as well. This is a huge time saver. And that, as I said before, attorneys just tell me all the time, they would just waste so much time in their day just searching for documents. I know you guys have thousands and thousands of documents that you're constantly referencing, whether it's case precedent or active files. And this is a really helpful tool to sort of streamline that process. Another example of our workflow automation relates to keeping track of your email communications. So we integrate with Gmail and Outlook. I have my Gmail open here, so I'll stick with this example. But let's say you have a really important email that you want to keep track of and associate to the client matter. You can actually click the email, and then when you select the Clio plugin, whether it's for Gmail or Outlook, you can type in the matter that you want to save that email to. So I'm going to stick with the last one, divorce here. And once I select the matter, I actually can hit view in Clio and add a time entry for the time in which it took me to move that email to Clio. So that way, when I go back to the last minute divorce and I go to my communications folder, all my email correspondence is there. And it's not going to remove it from your inbox, but rather make a copy and save it to the matter within Clio. And this goes back to my earlier point on the user experience front, right? When you're working on the last minute divorce, all your correspondence is there, all your billings there. There's no reason for why you should have to leave this screen. And the last example of workflow automation I'm going to highlight relates to the drafting of documents. So I know that attorneys often have to draft retainer agreements or engagement letters, documents that they make small changes to. But for the most part, about 90% of the content's the same. So what you can do is actually upload templates with merge fields. So rather than having, let's say a retainer agreement, it'll say, instead of it saying January 24th, Adam Dennis, the name of your firm, so on and so forth, we would put merge fields over the content. So it'd say like today's date, client's first name, firm name, so on and so forth. And then when you hit create new document from template, you can choose which template you want to automate. And then the matter will populate. And then when you hit create, it's going to replace the merge fields with all the information that's unique to the matter. So nobody from the firm has to manually draft these documents over and over again. And those are just a few examples of the workflow automation. I'm really keeping it high level here and not going sort of, into the thick of things. We have tons of bells and whistles and more examples of all of these, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to stick to those. And that leads me into our next value, which is how Clio will help firms capture more billable hours and improve their cash flow position. This is probably the main reason why firms come to Clio. It's something that Clio does really well. It was sort of our staple product when Clio first launched. And yeah, I'll jump into Clio and show a couple different examples of why firms love using Clio for this purpose. I think the most obvious example is that we have timers throughout Clio. So we have a built-in timer right here on the top right. You can have multiple timers going at once. You can start one timer, stop the other. And when you stop the timer, this time entry sheet will populate where you can put in an activity category, a description of the matter, what matter it's associated with, the firm user who's assigned to that matter, and then that user's default billing rate. So in that way, we're trying to incent the behavior of recording your time to ultimately ensure the firms are capturing all their billable hours in a given day. In addition to that, we have a built-in timer on the mobile app. I've worked with firms who sort of have their iPhone handy. They have their timer going on their phone and doing their work on their computer. And in that way, it's a really nice 1-2 punch where you can still do your work and ensure that the time is being captured and recorded. You can also track and capture time on the matter itself just by simply hitting add time. Same thing, you can either use a timer, input your time manually, or use a flat fee category. And another example of how Clio helps firms drive more billable hours and improve their cash position is by going to the firm dashboard. So what's nice about the firm dashboard is that it displays 3 key metrics for the firm's utilization, realization, and collection rate. And these are 3 very important metrics that every firm should be keeping tabs on. But what's nice about using it through Clio is that it's going to automatically produce this data. No one's coming in here and manually creating it. Just by inputting data from your cases, it's going to populate over time. So in terms of the utilization rate, that refers to, out of the hours in the day, what percentage of time is actually being billed for. So how many hours of the working day are being accounted for and being billed for. Then realization of those billable hours, what percentage are actually being captured on an invoice, and then collection, how effectively is the firm collecting on those billable hours. So what's nice about this is that you can set targets and track how you're doing compared to those targets. And again, it's going to sort of incent the behavior of continuously trying to get better at capturing more time and improving the firm's cash position. The next thing I'm going to highlight are automated bill reminders. So you can go into the firm-wide billing tab and go to the outstanding balances section. And this is going to show every single overdue invoice across the firm. So what you can do, which is really cool, is that you can actually select all. So I've selected 11 invoices here, and you can hit send. And it's basically going to reshare these outstanding invoices with the respective clients to improve your collection. And what's neat about this is you can actually toggle on these automated bill reminders. So in theory, no one from the firm has to even come in here. Clio can regularly reshare these overdue invoices with those clients who still haven't made payment at whatever cadence you indicate. And then the last feature that I'm going to highlight are our payment plans. So you can put in a contact's name, where you want the funds deposited to, whether it's operating or trust account, the installment amount, the frequency in which you want that client to be charged. And then you can actually input their credit card directly into Clio or set up an e-check. And then Clio is going to regularly charge that client the installment amount at whatever cadence you indicate, again, to ensure that the firm is improving its collection and keeping cash in the business. Okay, great. Again, just scrape the surface in terms of that value, but those are a couple prime examples of how Clio helps firms capture more of their time and improve their cash position. And that leads me into the last user benefit, which I'm going to highlight, which is how Clio creates a really strong customer experience and how that ultimately generates more referrals for the law firm. So every year, Clio puts out a legal trends report where we basically consolidate all the data we find across the legal industry into a helpful, digestible report. And one of the most compelling findings from a previous report was that about 80% of new business for law firms comes from client referrals. So in the same way that Clio's invested heavily into the attorney experience, we so too really care about the end client experience, in that how they perceive Clio can potentially drive or inhibit future business for that firm. So I'm going to show a couple different examples of how we've really invested in your end client experience, and that we know it's so important in terms of future referrals. So in the same way that we have a mobile app for attorneys, we also have an app for the end client. It's called Clio for Clients, and it's basically a client portal on their phone. They can instant message with the firm. They can share documents with the firm. They can pretty much get a quick glimpse in terms of what's going on with their case from their phone. Of course, in the same way that we have a mobile app, we have a web-based portal. With that, we're just trying to make it as easy as possible for your clients to interact with the firm, whether it's to do it over the phone or to do it in the web. So just continuing with that point, you can do everything that I just showed in the app in the web as well, whether it's sharing documents, sharing bills, calendar appointments. I think the main point we're trying to drive across here is that we want to allow clients to interact with the firm in whatever way is most convenient to them. In addition to that, on the Grow front, what's neat about it is that you can actually assign specific tags, right? So right now we're looking at the Michael Ambar matter. Here we can put in, maybe he's, a high net worth lead or a hot lead. Maybe you want to put in the fact that, he's a Yankees fan or whatever it may be, or maybe that his birthday's in February. And what's cool about that using these tags is that you can actually segment your clients down and filter them out, and then import them to MailChimp and send out curated marketing messages based on those tags to these leads and clients. And in doing this, you're creating more personalized experience for the client and making them feel like, they're not one of many, but rather, one of one for the firm. Okay, great. And those are just a couple of the examples of the customer experience and how that creates more referrals for the firm. If anyone has any more questions in terms of what I've covered or what I didn't, feel free to, just put in the chat or follow up after the fact, but there's certainly much more to be seen within Clio. But just to summarize, from a high level standpoint, there's sort of three aspects to Clio: manage, which is the case management aspect of the platform once the client's been retained; grow, which is the intake and CRM aspects of the tool; and then Clio complete, which is both manage and grow bundled together. As I said, if anyone wants to learn more, feel free to let me or Carrie know. I'd be happy to jump on a call, connect you with a member of our sales team who can provide a more personalized demo. And at this point, we welcome any questions.
Thank you so much, Adam, for all that information. That was great to see it live.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
I have a question on the you said there's like a plugin for like your emails of logging emails. Is there a way of automating that, so once it's connected it just is smart enough to assign the email to that specific contact, or is it something you do have to manually keep on top of?
Yeah, it's a good question. So you can actually have a mail drop ID whereby you assign a unique code to contacts in Clio. And then once you associate that mail drop ID with that contact, the emails will just flow. So essentially there's one manual step, and then once that step's completed, it'll automate it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And Leslie posted a question. What does the new client onboarding process look like?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's something that our team has invested heavily in. It's included within the cost per user per month. So, once the firm decides to sign up, they'll meet with our onboarding team where they'll map out the data migration piece and the training piece. In terms of migration, same thing with support. We have about 100 folks dedicated to migrating data from legacy tools, whether it's, PC Law, Abacus, Practice Panther, MyCase. They'll scope it out, they'll dedupe it to make sure the data is clean, and they'll import to Clio on your behalf. And then from there, you'll be connected with one of our onboarding agents for a live Q&A to get a sense of what the firm's priorities are, what your workflows are, and they'll sort of go over it to ensure that you can hit the ground running.
All right. Well, thank you again, everybody, for your time and for spending your lunch break with us. And if you have any other questions, please reach out to myself or Adam, and have a great day.